Meaning is a fascinating concept. So we believe that we exist as people inside a world of meaning, rather than ourself and our world arises in meaning and we exist prior to that. So most people can't even come to that type of realization. The meaning is something after us. We weren't born with meaning. We weren't born with a name. We weren't born with ideas. We weren't born with concepts. It was something we learned. We learned the name of the tree. The tree isn't inherently a tree. It's so hard for us to begin to go there, because I suspect it triggers our sense of meaninglessness and a fear of death. I know that sounds very dramatic. It's like, boom, 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 triggers our fear of death. But it really does, because if we begin to go beyond meaning and our meaning in this world, do we exist? And if we do exist, what do we exist as? Because if we aren't a name, aren't our emotions, aren't our feelings, aren't our past, aren't what we're going to do in the future, aren't our job title, if we're not all of these things, then what are we? And who is alive? Who is alive? And this is like the most important fundamental question that should be reflected to all humans throughout their life. Because to me and to non-duality, human suffering is the seeker, which is constantly seeking to be a meaning, a name, and a thing that exists in time and words. So this is why it's really important to master meaning, even though that too is a concept. It's understanding what meaning is and putting it into perspective, and understanding what our meaning is. Because most of us are living through a false concept of meaning and then seeking to live up to an idea of our false concept of meaning, which is inevitably suffering, because none of that's true. We made up all the words, we made up the sentence structures. Our body is interpreting all words in a different way. Everybody's interpretation of what's being spoken about is different. And yet, the seeker is always striving to have a solid meaning and a solid sense of self that obtains meaning. And this is an impossibility. The person is being set up to fail. And the more that life goes on in this manner, the more the person will get into mental chaos and suffering, because they're seeking for meaning that doesn't exist. And it's so important to people. You know, a lot of people, when they begin to get into non-duality, you know, a lot of the main questions then are, then what? You know, then we live a life trying to save others? You know, so they open up to this idea that they don't exist, but they very quickly need to replace it with a new meaning for themselves. And this happens because the seeker is terrified of meaninglessness. And I don't mean meaninglessness as a thing, as a depressive state. I mean it as, who are we prior to meaning? And when we begin to investigate this and explore what our meaning is, then the purpose of the spiritual journey becomes clear. So what you're actually seeking for, what the purpose is, what you truly want to manifest, is freedom. And freedom is not in meaning, not in words, not in things. It is in that which is experiencing all of this.